Today on Making Drink, it's the history of the Mai Tai. To really understand it, you have to go all the way back to where it first started. It was the summer of 1944, and Victor Bergeron felt the need to create a new drink. He contemplated the martini, the daiquiri, and the Manhattan, and noted the simplicity of those recipes. He headed for the service bar of his Oakland, California restaurant and took down a bottle of 17-year-old J. Ray and Nephew from Jamaica, a golden rum with a rich, pungent flavor, a rum not to be overpowered by the heavy addition of fruit juices or flavorings. So he added fresh lime, orange curacao from Holland, a dash of rock candy syrup, and a dollop of French orgeat. Then he added a generous amount of shaved ice and shook it vigorously by hand. Half the lime shell went into each drink for color, as well as a branch of fresh mint. The first to try this new concoction was Ham and Carrie Guild, friends from Tahiti. Carrie took one sip and said, "Mete roi," which in Tahitian means out of this world, the best. That was that, and Trader Vic named the drink the Mai Tai. The rest, as they say, is history. Or is it? That story is known by many, but is it true? Well, not exactly. I don't doubt that Trader Vic created the drink in 1944, but it's first widely relayed to the world in a 1970 press release, and then again in the Trader Vic's 1972 Bartender's Guide. That's 28 years after that summer in Oakland, California. Trader Vic was 42 in 1944 and 70 when he tells the story publicly for the first time, but let's not doubt it because of anyone's age or the time elapsed. Let's not doubt it due to any rivalry with Don the Beachcomber or any other of the wannabe creators. The conflicting stories come from Trader Vic himself. In 1972, that updated Trader Vic's Bartender's Guide is released with the first published book account of the Mai Tai origin story, matching the 1970 press release. 1 year later, in 1973, Trader Vic's releases his own autobiography, in that he says he was sitting at the service bar in Oakland, California, and he and a bartender decided to come up with a new drink using only the finest ingredients. In this account, the recipe is almost the same as the Bartender's Guide, but half an ounce of orgeat instead of a quarter ounce. We now see the first official variation of the recipe, but that difference is meaningless. In the autobiography, when they were ready to taste the drink, they were told that their good friends, Ham and Carrie Guild, had arrived from Tahiti. He chit-chats with them for a bit and has a new round of these new drinks made and brought over to them. He tries his and says nothing. Carrie and Ham tasted it and Carrie Guild exclaimed, "Mete no." She said, "Ham, what do you think?" And he said, "It's mete roi." Vic asked what the hell that meant, and Ham said, "Out of this world, the best." In addition, this account says that it takes place in 1944 and says that Ham and Carrie Guild had arrived from Tahiti. Other accounts say that they were visiting or vacationing from Tahiti. But were they? No, because the Guilds left Tahiti in 1940, 4 years earlier, when France falls to Nazi Germany during World War II. Carolyn Guild says Tahiti was France and France was Vichy and Vichy was Hitler. The Guilds had been in Tahiti for 17 years and left on one of the last ships out of Tahiti, leaving behind most of their belongings in the summer of 1940. This is all covered in Rainbow in Tahiti by Carolyn Guild, where on page 20, she shares that while their last name is of Scottish origin, they are from Boston, where their last name rhymes with child, mild, and wild, so Guild. The book is known to some of the diehard Mai Tai fans, but I did not know of this book's existence until earlier this year. I stumbled upon it on a bird forum because Eastham Guild, who goes by Ham, had introduced dozens of bird species to Tahiti and even smuggled some illegally into London. But the story of friends that just got in or were vacationing from Tahiti and tried this drink and proclaim it to be Mai Tai, the best, out of this world, in Tahitian, that's a pretty good story. And the first accounts of this are all revisionist history from 26 years later, and by that time, the drink is a worldwide success. A success worthy of a better origin story, and Trader Vic was a great storyteller. But it's not the tiny discrepancies in that story or recipes that have led some to believe the Mai Tai is not a Trader Vic original. The main argument against the Trader Vic origin story comes from none other than Don the Beachcomber. According to Phoebe Beach and Arnold Bittner, it was Don who invented the Mai Tai. They even refer to Trader Vic as Don's pupil. But the Don the Beachcomber invented the Mai Tai truthers have problems with their own origin stories, mainly because they can't agree on one. Some close to Don claim that the Mai Tai was inspired by Trader Vic's visit to Don the Beachcomber in 1937, where he was possibly served a QB cooler. This is outlined by Jeff the Beach Bum Barry, and apparently Trader Vic liked the drink so much that he held on to the memory of this drink for 7 years, and in 1944 decided to try to replicate it. And to replicate it, he decides to make a drink that bears no similarity to the QB cooler in ingredients or taste. Phoebe Beach and Arnold Bittner have a different claim, that Don created a drink called the Mai Tai, or the Mai Tai Swizzle, in the 1930s prior to Trader Vic's Mai Tai, but this Mai Tai is not on any historic menus, and when Jeff Barry asked, they pointed to a menu dated from 1941. But that is irrelevant, as many of the Don menus from the 40s through the 1970s had a 1941 copyright, and that can be confirmed by this menu that you're looking at right now from the Sahara in Las Vegas, which first opened its doors in 1962, meaning the copyright is off by 21 years. That press release in 1970, with the first printed version of the Mai Tai origin story, is not out of nowhere. The battle of the Mai Tai origins comes to a head in 1970, when the Trader Vic Corporation sues Sunvac Corporation, who was trying to trademark the Mai Tai for their Don the Beachcomber Mai Tai mixes. This is covered in Sven Kirsten's Tiki style, but I've not been able to find any record of a Sunvac Corporation. All the historic bottles of Don the Beachcomber mixes were created by the Vita Packed Citrus Products Co., who held the trademark to use the Don the Beachcomber name starting in 1966, and that company still exists today. As covered by Sven Kirsten, the case is eventually settled on the side of Trader Vic, who issues the press release with the Mai Tai origin and recipe. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Trader Vic had no problem giving credit to Don. He's printed on his menus, and he acknowledges his inspiration from simple drinks like the daiquiri. And the Mai Tai is far closer to a daiquiri than a QB cooler or the Don the Beachcomber Mai Tai. It's similar to other drinks as well, except for its secret ingredient, which is orgeat, an ingredient Don the Beachcomber did not use. There doesn't really seem to be any popular post-prohibition cocktails prior to the Mai Tai that use orgeat, except for maybe one or two, and those were all made by the same guy. The biggest unicorn in the Tiki and rum world is a 17-year-old bottle of J. Wray & Nephew. It's often said that the Mai Tai was so popular that the global supply of this rum was completely diminished by the mid-1950s. But that is just not true. The Mai Tai does not become popular until the mid-1950s because of the drink's introduction to Hawaii, where the recipe changes slightly. And we're not talking about pineapple here, we're talking about a real Mai Tai. That popularity in Hawaii is not what diminished the supply of this rum, and I don't believe the Mai Tai played any significant role in the dwindling of the supply of this rum, because according to Trader Vic's Tiki Party, they run through their supply of this rare rum within 1 year of this drink's creation. And it was not until 1948 that we get our second Trader Vic's location. This means within 1 year, Trader Vic's original location at the corner of 65th and San Pablo Avenue in Oakland, California, they completely use up the world supply of this rum, and the only place you can order a Mai Tai is in Oakland. Now, that second location for Trader Vic's would be the Outrigger in Seattle, which opened in 1948, 4 years after the creation of the Mai Tai. And on the menu is a Mai Tai, but it's not the top-billed cocktail on that menu. While many of the menus from Trader Vic have alphabetized cocktails, the more significant and more popular ones are featured first. In the original Outrigger menu, the top cocktail is the new Molokai Mike, followed by the popular Puka Punch, and then the well-known Fog Cutter, another orgeat drink. The number 9 cocktail, and in alphabetical order, is the Mai Tai. It's not a cocktail sweeping the nation by storm, not yet. Since they run through this rum in just 1 year, that means in 1945, Trader Vic has moved on to the 15-year-old rum, and as supplies of that dwindle, Vic starts blending the 15-year-old with other rums, and we come into the adjusted formulas era, as you can find detailed on ultimatemaitai.com and outlined in the Smuggler's Cove book. And remember, these adjusted formulas are not occurring around the vast Trader Vic's empire that doesn't exist yet. It's just happening in Oakland. While the adjusted formulas make sense, I think it's worth categorizing the Mai Tai into versions as well. The original version is made with 17-year-old Ray and Nephew. This is version 1. The substitution with 15-year-old Ray and Nephew is version 2. Version 3, which is the first adjusted formula, is when Vic starts to blend rums and includes Ray and Nephew 15, Red Heart, and Karuba, both dark Jamaican rums. Version 4, which is the second adjusted formula, is when he starts using his own bottled 15-year, 8-year, and either Red Heart or Karuba, not sure which one, and the addition of rum from Martinique. Fast forward to 1959, Trader Vic's has their own Mai Tai rum label, an 86 proof blend of 70% Jamaican rum, 20% Martinique rum, and 10% Virgin Islands rum. Many have taken the use of Martinique rum to mean rum agricole, as almost all of the rum you're going to find today from Martinique that you can buy is a rum agricole, which is a sugar cane juice based rum and not molasses based. For those of you not familiar, they're very different. At Smuggler's Cove, Martin Kate dives deeper into the Trader Vic's books, recipes, and rum lists and concludes that the Martinique rums from the 1940s and 50s would have been molasses based. Additionally, AOC Martinique, which is essentially an appellation and set of rules for Martinique-style rum agricole, does not come into French law until 1996. Nevertheless, the Mai Tai, using a split base of dark Jamaican rum plus the addition of rum agricole, gains significant traction from Jeff the Beach Bum Berry, who shares the recipe as 1 ounce of Jamaican rum and 1 ounce of Martinique rum in the infamous grog log, and then 1 ounce of Jamaican rum and 1 ounce of amber Martinique rum in Sippin' Safari. Barry is not sharing a recipe calling for rum agricole, but as recently as in an interview in 2023, he does claim that one of the first Mai Tais that he's ever served at Trader Vic's contained rum agricole, and the confirmation for that was he saw the drink being made with his own eyes. If you're still a skeptic, Trader Vic's has shared the Old Way recipe from the 1990s, which included the use of rum St. James, a rum from Martinique. Still not sure? Look no further than this image in Sippin' Safari, where Barry shares a picture of a Mai Tai along with Trader Vic's branded bottles of Martinique rum, Bowls Orange Curacao, Trader Vic's branded Jamaican rum, and rum St. James. That rum St. James, that's a rum agricole, as St. James was making rum agricole exclusively dating back to 1885. So who's correct? Martin Kate that it was molasses-based, or Jeff Barry that says rum agricole? Both. Both are correct. So what about that original rum, the one used for just 1 year, a decade before the drink even starts to become popular? We'll never know exactly what that bottle of 17-year-old rum tasted like. Even if you found this unicorn bottle in the wild, unopened today, that bottle would have been distilled about 100 years ago. It was a 100% pot still rum, and it was 43% ABV, making it 86 proof. While some may argue it was a higher proof, and anything is possible, the pictures you'll see of the bottles sold in the United States have no ABV, but the bottles you could buy in Italy for the 17 and 20 year were 43% alcohol by volume. It was printed on the label. Now I'm going to venture into a little opinion here, but I think it's just extremely important to note how unreasonable the obsession is with this bottle of rum, and I include myself as part of that problem. They stopped using this rum within 1 year of creating the Mai Tai. This rum is gone before the outrigger, it's gone before Hawaii, and it's gone before the newspaper columnists started sharing the Mai Tai recipe with the rest of the world in the 1950s and 1960s. This means that the Mai Tai's eventual popularity had nothing, absolutely nothing, to do with this rare and prized bottle of rum. For me, it's that conversation about the correct or accurate rum that goes into a Mai Tai that can sometimes annoy me, and the obsession around the original Mai Tai or the 1944 Mai Tai, when most people are only focused on half of the ingredients, the rum, and that rum changed a lot. Different Jamaican rum, Puerto Rican rums, Virgin Island rums, and Martinique rums. And I get that, it's the sexy part of the drink, but it's very rare to hear anyone ever talk about the orgeat or the curacao used in the original drink. We've all just defaulted to these, which are good, but are they historically accurate to the drink? Many of the Trader Vic's recipes stipulate French orgeat, and some call for Garnier French orgeat, which would have been made by Distillery Garnier and sold as P. Garnier. Founded in 1859 by Paul Garnier, and they made dozens of liqueurs. I've scoured the internet for any image of a historic bottle of this orgeat, and there are none. I've searched the French web as well. I even reached out to the people at Old Spirits Company, which have the oldest bottle of any P. Garnier product I've ever come across, which is a maraschino liqueur, and they've never come across a P. Garnier bottle of orgeat. The only image on the internet of P. Garnier French orgeat is this bottle from Trader Vic's, which is from the 1960s or early 1970s, but not much later than that, as the Garnier distillery closes in 1974. In 1944, orgeat from France would have been hard to get. Let's remember our timeline here from Caroline Guilde. France surrendered in the Battle of France in 1940 and was now occupied by Germany and Vichy France until the end of the war. Hard to imagine how you could get a bottle of orgeat from Nazi-controlled France to Oakland during that 5-year period. But you don't have to imagine, because you could not get a bottle. The Garnier distillery was located in Enheim, France, just outside of Paris, and they ceased all production during World War II. And this missing bottle of orgeat is odd, because starting in 1910, Garnier started making collectible ceramic miniatures, and they kept making them until the 1970s. I even have one from the 1930s for a blackberry liqueur, but not a single one was made for orgeat, not even an ad in a newspaper. Why is there not more obsession over this bottle instead of this bottle? What did it taste like? Was it handcrafted with raw almonds? Were the almond skins on or off? Was it similar to the Jerry Thomas recipe? Did they include bitter almond oil, the kind that will kill you if you use too much? Or was it similar to a sugar syrup with some almond extract? I don't know. Maybe the most authentic would be another French orgeat, Giffard, which many people seem to not like. But the recipes we see now usually call for much higher quality orgeats, homemade or small batch even, which we know Vic didn't use because he bought his syrups and specifically calls out the fact that he was using commercially available grenadine and orgeat. What about the other star of the Mai Tai, orange liqueur, or as Vic points out, dry curacao from Holland? That one is easy because we know it's a bottle of De Kuyper. But how could this be from Holland in 1944, as Holland would also be occupied by Nazi Germany until May 5th, 1945? In this case, that doesn't even matter. After Prohibition in 1934, De Kuyper struck up a deal with national distillers in the United States. All De Kuyper liqueurs sold and distributed in the United States after 1934 would have been made in the United States of America. So Vic sells his drink as exotic and elegant, rum from Jamaica, orgeat from France, and a curacao from Holland, because he's telling you a story. And saying your curacao is from Holland is a hell of a lot better than saying that it's from New Jersey. Most people today will point to using Pierre Ferrand dry curacao from France, an orange liqueur developed by Maison Ferrand with author and historian David Wondrich. And while the recipe is historically based on a style of dry curacao you would have found in the 1800s, this product is not created until 2012, and it's not designed to be the curacao found in 1944 Oakland, California, via New Jersey. And if you've ever done taste tests with, 10 to 12 orange liqueurs, you'll know there's a huge difference between each of them. So if you care deeply about the authenticity of your Mai Tai, and you judge all others by the rums that they use, you shouldn't use something like Pierre Ferrand, but instead should opt for real authenticity by using the dry curacao used in the original Mai Tai, the $10 de Kuiper. And lucky for you, because it's available everywhere. So far, we've established that the Mai Tai was not an immediate hit. Next to Trader Vic creating the recipe, the popularity of this drink can best be attributed to one company with a name and a logo you've probably seen hundreds of times if you live near a port city or traveled in interstate. The Matson Navigation Company was founded in the late 1880s as a shipping company sending goods from Oakland to Hawaii via sailboat. From the 1920s to the 1970s, Matson would operate several passenger ships or cruise liners from San Francisco and Los Angeles to Hawaii. In the 1920s, they also purchased the Moana Hotel, which had been built in 1901 and then went on to build the Royal Hawaiian in 1927. Later, the Surfrider in 1952, essentially owning and operating the large Waikiki hotels. In 1953, they hired Trader Vic to create drinks for the Matson steamship lines as well as all three hotels. In early 1953, the Mai Tai officially lands in the territory of Hawaii. But in 1953, the Mai Tai bar at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel, that does not exist. And instead, you would come across your very first experience with the Mai Tai at the surf bar or the surf room. While the drink is not the featured drink on the menu, Trader Vic made it clear upon his arrival that it was his favorite drink. If you want to close your eyes and step back in time to envision yourself there when the Mai Tai first arrived, we can look to the 1955 syndicated column Around the World with Stan Delaplane, which is one of the oldest references to the Mai Tai in print. The best drink? A Mai Tai as made at the surf room. The best music? Bill Akamaho at the Royal Hawaiian. Enjoying the Mai Tai with prime rib or maybe some fresh Hawaiian papaya fritters, and listening to the sweet baritone voice of Bill Akamaho and his Royal Hawaiian Orchestra. And this is where the Mai Tai story gets personal, because if you've watched my past videos, you might recognize that voice because I put it at the end of most videos. Bill Akamaho Diaz was my great-granduncle, my grandmother's uncle. And that's a cool detail I didn't determine until researching the Mai Tai and finding vintage Royal Hawaiian menus. While it was billed on the menu as Bill Akamaho and his Royal Hawaiian Orchestra, the idea of the Royal Hawaiian Orchestra was created back in 1934 by and for the one and only Harry Owens, who we all know, creator of many classic songs including Sweet Leilani. But he was also a Mai Tai wannabe, and at one point tried to claim credit for the creation of the cocktail. That story is covered in Beach Bum Remixed, where Owens claims to have created the Mai Tai in 1954, a whole year after Trader Vic brings the drink to Hawaii, and over 10 years after it was created in Oakland. It's nonsense. So how does the Mai Tai devolve in Hawaii? Well, in the beginning, it doesn't. The Mai Tai first leaves Hawaii and heads back to the mainland in the early 1950s, but is only mentioned, no recipe. But in June of 1958, we see the first recipe for the Mai Tai publicly shared by the Commercial Appeal from Memphis, Tennessee. 1 ounce lemon juice, ½ an ounce fresh lime juice, 1/3 ounce rock candy syrup, 1/3 ounce orgeat, 1/3 ounce orange curacao, 1 ounce light Puerto Rican rum, 1 ounce dark Jamaican rum. But a more original, and in my opinion, more important recipe is shared in 1961 by our good friend, Stanton Delaplane. Important because of its wide reach. He'd been mentioning the Mai Tai in his column, and readers were now writing in asking for the recipe, which he shared. 1 jigger light rum, 1 jigger dark Jamaican rum, juice of 1 lime, dash of orgeat, dash of rock candy syrup, dash of orange curacao, garnish with mint, sugarcane stick, and fill with shaved ice. This is shared 8 years after Trader Vic gets to Hawaii and 17 years after the original recipe is created, and it's the same exact recipe except for that split base of rums. Stanton Delaplane was a columnist for the San Francisco Chronicle, and his travel columns are syndicated and read all over the country. I think this recipe from Stan is one of the most important pieces of the Mai Tai popularity puzzle. But that shouldn't be a surprise because Delaplane is no stranger to coincidentally introducing a popular cocktail to the world. In 1950, Delaplane is in Ireland at the Shannon airport, and he served a coffee with a whiskey. He writes about it again a year later, and again 2 years after that. One night, he's sitting in a San Francisco bar with the new owner, Jack Kopler, who asks him to make this drink. They work on it and work on it and work on it, trying to perfect the recipe and the cream float, and the two of them are finally able to master the drink, which is, of course, the Irish coffee from the Buena Vista. Over the coming years and decades, the Mai Tai is changed, it's devolved, it's beaten down, broken, it's highly juiced. It becomes the resort drink with pineapple, orange juice, and grenadine, with weaker rums, distancing itself from that Mai Tai first made in 1944 using a fine old Jamaican rum and fresh lime juice. But that de-evolution, it'll get its own time here and discussion. Those recipes and how they happen, they're arguably just as important to the Mai Tai story, and I'll have someone else here at the bar to discuss what happens to the Mai Tai in Hawaii, because it's a fascinating story on its own. Finally, I have a conclusion that is probably different than you might assume, and vastly different than most hardcore Tiki or rum aficionados. I think the de-evolution of the Mai Tai is good. I think it's the best thing to ever happen to it. Its popularity led to the demise of the original recipe, but that evolution made the drink mainstream and accessible. And what other cocktail is so highly scrutinized? There's none. Not even close. Just seriously, if you're really into this, why is the Mai Tai so scrutinized? And more importantly, should it be? But I, for one, I'm not here to gatekeep the Mai Tai. To me, the Royal Hawaiian Mai Tai is a Mai Tai. The Monkey Pod Mai Tai is a Mai Tai. The Mai Tai's popularity grew larger than its recipe, and while it's important to understand where it came from and how it was once made, it's okay if it has pineapple juice or grenadine. It's kind of cool that a drink so big came from Oakland, California, and a tiny restaurant that originally opened its doors as Hinky Dinks. And if you want the original Mai Tai recipe as made exactly by Trader Vic in 1944, well, that doesn't exist. It's not possible. You can't make that. But if you want to make a 1944 style Mai Tai that is close to the original in spirit, here is what I would do.